a lot. You're using the tools, showing the world's greatest designer products, and you tell them they're going to get the $300 gift certificate and possibly a life-changing opportunity that they're going to expand their business and they're going to change their lives. You know what? You're going to have more than 10 coming out. But I'm just throwing a number on the table. I ask each one of these 40 to make sure they have 10 people coming out throughout the week, if they're going to be there for a week. And they're like, okay, so they're going to go out there, and I'm saying, well, okay, that's great. Now we got X number of weeks leading on to the event. So what we're going to do is we're going to go out there and get as many people as possible, launch the VDMs right now before we get there. It's not fair to them. They're going to come there when I'm there. They're going to launch the VDM when I'm there. Then they're going to have a short time to take advantage of our visit over there. It's better if they get started now so they can load up the pipeline. So when we come there, we're going to have a massive success, massive event, and a lot of record amount of commissions and bonuses and so on. So basically work very hard leading into the event. Work very closely with these people leading on into the event, if that's my first visit there. And when we go down there, basically, we do some pre-planning. Usually I get Sanaz women involved in the organizers on the ground in whatever market. I get Sanaz to speak with them regarding the setups, regarding the display, regarding, the number of different things. And Sanaz does an amazing job at that every time, talking with these people on the ground, organizing with these people on the ground so we can be, we can leave an amazing first impression. Once that's done, the planning is done, setup is done, venue is chosen, and all that kind of stuff. When we go down there, basically, what's really important is that the team, if it's my first visit, I know Nigeria is not our first visit. Nigeria is already in the thousands of members, but it doesn't matter. What you want to do is you want to treat it as if it's your first visit. It is corporate's first visit, so you got to treat it as such. You got to make so much noise, create so much excitement. You got to create so much curiosity that your venues are just overflowing, that you do not have room to let in twice as many people that are inside the room. So you'll have the same problem as the other markets, that you'll have to have meetings back to back, not just one meeting a night. You have no choice. You have twice the number of people standing outside as you have people sitting inside. So now you're going to finish one tour and start with the next one and the next one. This has happened almost every market we launched. The record stands with St. Lucia, 850 people in the room. That was their official launch. That was the time when corporate was there. And you know what? I have no doubt Nigeria is going to shatter that. Okay? This is where we need to make sure each and every one of the leaders on the ground, the LCs on the ground, made their flyers, the Facebook, the WhatsApp messages, the activities, the communication. Everybody's at an all-time high energy, excitement, and feed that to the market. Because when you start to have that kind of electricity in the air, believe me, people from far, far distances are drawn to you. It's like a magnet. They want to know what's going on. What are these people are so enthused and excited about? What's this massive thing that's coming to Nigeria? What's these big events that's happening in Nigeria? This opportunity that's going on in Nigeria. And you'd be surprised how many people don't know about your opportunity. That'll be almost 100%. I stand in Toronto where Global World Trade started. When sometimes people tell me, well, everyone in Toronto knows about Global World Trade. That's where it started, right? Well, wrong. I go to the busiest malls. I've done that just to demonstrate. I already know the answer, but I've done that to demonstrate to other LCs. I says, let's go have fun. Let's go walk in the Fairview Mall or one of the big malls, and let's ask 100 people if they've heard of Ferry Design Alliance or Global World Trade. And you'd be blown away, but almost no one here has heard of it. That is the kind of opportunity. That's how wide open it is right here in Canada, yet alone Nigeria, which got about 100 and some odd million people. So yes, you got to make sure that you make a lot of noise about it. You got to make sure you promote. You got to make sure your old LCs, dead LCs, old prospects, people who saw it never launch, people who launched didn't do nothing, faded, doesn't matter who. You want to make sure everyone, absolutely everyone, hears about this. And you know what? We all know what happens after these power weeks. We get all-time records of join ratio, people launching their malls. We get record amount of commission checks. commission volume, bonuses. I mean, it skyrockets every market we've ever been to. I just came back from Grenada. Grenada is just they have an amazing, amazing month. You know, before that we were in St. Lucia, they finished number 2. Apparently lost to Nigeria with 6 apps. Okay, so this is what these events do. So this event that we're coming to, if it's done properly, effectively, Nigeria is back in number 1 spot. I mean, number 1. I mean, something that's going to be like twice number 2 is going to be probably half as much volume if close to that. So this is what these events do, and you want to make sure that everybody has a task to do. All the leaders on the ground. If you have 200, 300, 400 people, guests in the room, immediately following a tour, you need to have your leaders grouped up. Grouped meaning you want to welcome people on board as soon as possible. So what you want to do is, you don't want to just for a guest to be sitting there for X number of minutes or even sometimes an hour with no one attending to them. And what they do is they get up and leave, right? So what you want to do is, if you have enough LCs on the ground, everybody will attend to guests. If you don't have enough LCs on the ground that are capable of helping guests, then you group it up. You take section A, you take section B, I'll take section C. Here's D and E and F. We'll talk about that when we get there anyways. But you want to attend to that guest immediately. And you want to welcome to GWT family immediately. What I do is I pick on one that I see is very attentive to the whole tour, nodding their head. They're participating. They look like, oh yeah, this is it. I love this. I go up to them immediately after the tour. Hey, how you doing? Isn't that just out of this world what you just saw? Like, yeah, this is wonderful. I'm like, great. So you ready to get started right now? Well, I didn't bring any money, or yeah, but I have some question, but this and that. Okay, so answer the question as soon as I can. And I'm like, so you're ready to launch right now? Well, I didn't bring my money, but yes, I want to launch. It's okay. It doesn't matter if you brought your money or not. I just want to know, are you on board? Yes, I am. I said, so do you mind if I welcome you to the family? No, sure. Okay, please stand up. They stand up. Attention, everyone. Attention, everyone. Please help me welcome our newest member to GWT family. Another thing that we do with markets, with big power weeks like that, is that we make sure we have a number of laptops ready to go. And people line up. You know what these lineups are? If you go to the Facebook, all of our power tours, weeks in St. Lucia, whatever, all these people lined up for is not because they're going to buy some, I don't know, hotcakes. They're all lined up because they want to get launched. We have sometimes 5, 6 laptops going overtime. They're working overtime. People are waiting. So make sure you have laptops available at these power tours. So right after when the tour is done, we answer the question. We make an announcement. Laptops are in the other corner, folks. You can go there right now and launch your malls. So this is also very important, the laptops. And obviously, we want to take them to the next 30-day launchpad training. So we tell them about our next meeting, when that is, which is the next day. And we want you, go ahead and make sure you're bringing your people tomorrow. Let's get you to Diplomat. Set a target for them. Let's get you to Diplomat within the next 24 hours. So that's a little bit, Brian. I don't know how much else you want me to say, but that's basically a little bit of quick overview of what I do. So if you have any other question, you can go ahead and ask. Brian?
Yes. So can you hear me, Reza?
I hear you now. I hear you clicking, but I didn't hear you talking.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So you know what? First, I want to say thank you so much. So now, Reza, obviously you've got a pretty big team that is, I mean, everyone pretty much is on your team. From an organizational standpoint, at the actual tours, is there any direction that you give the people in terms of how to manage the numbers of people?
Well, you know what? In a perfect world, everybody will take care of their first and second generation and teach them to take care of the first and second generation. But unfortunately, I don't live in a perfect world. So what I do is I try to pay attention to my organization. And I try to, I mean, we have a system in place right now that anybody and everybody can, but you still need to look to see someone is not being assisted or not helped. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that You see sparks, people that come to you, you get them plugged in the system, make sure they're connected with the right group, right, the webinar links. I mean, there's amazing how many people don't know how to get on the webinars.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't know where these links are. They don't know how to get them, even though they've been in the business a long time. You assume they know, right? So, we try to make it we try to make it simpler as we go. But what I do is I usually make myself available to the best of my ability. And when someone comes to me, I try to connect them with the right people, closest upline to them that are leaders that they can actually, work with. But I also tell them it's important that they get plugged in the system. You could be, I don't know, in a brand new territory with
Mm-hmm.
zero LCs on the ground, but you could still be fully connected to GWT World. So I try to help that way to make sure they're connected in
Okay.
all ways.
Okay, perfect. And now, I mean, one of the things that we always talk about is the setup of the room, and I know this is something that is a pet peeve all the time of Ramin, having empty chairs.
Right.
What's your take on that?
Well, you know what? I don't know how the setup is in Nigeria. If they have already pre-sold tickets. If you already pre-sold tickets, let's say you sold, I don't know, 100 tickets, and you have seating for 300. Don't put all 300 chairs out. Put out 100
Mm-hmm.
chairs and leave the rest towards the back. All the leaders in the LCs know that as people come, you guide them, you usher them. You should have an usher. For a big event like that, you want to usher these people to the front of the room.
Mm-hmm.
Get them all seated so that way they get seated. So once you see the first row, or not row, first area that the chairs that we put out already, 1/3 of the chairs we put out already, is filled out, then the LCs, each one grab and they create a second section, like directly behind the other one. Now you don't put all the chairs out again. You do the same thing till that fills out. Then you put the last row in, and that's how you get people to not leave these big empty spots in the middles and corners. That way you fill up the room nicely,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully, I know that's what's going to happen because that's what always happens. Grenada, St. Lucia, St. Mark, it always happens like that. You're going to have not enough room, not enough chairs. And I mean, there's maybe standing room, yes, but if there's not even room to stand, what do you want to do? Well, St. Lucia, they were lucky. There was a different section behind where they were doing their tour, and somehow, I don't know if they asked someone or not, but all I know is they had set up laptops on the other side, so we had two big meetings going on simultaneously. They got lucky.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have that, what you have to do is really you can't turn people back. What you got to do is tell them, you know what, it's sold out, it's full, but if you wish to stay, we'll do a tour after this one is done. I mean, that's a good
Mm-hmm.
problem to have, but that's what happens usually.
Exactly. And now, of course, as people are now doing the answering of questions post tour, what typically is the strategy post tour?
Post tour, when you're at the meeting, you want to, like I said, welcome someone on board immediately because people are listening. A lot of people are intrigued. A lot of people are excited. A lot of people looking like, wow. Some are thinking like, this looks good, but can I do it? Some people are thinking like, I don't know, I didn't understand it, or, oh no, this is no good. Doesn't matter how the feel is. Once they hear other people are launching, attention everyone, please help me welcome our newest LC to Global Wealth Trade. Tanya, for example. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
claps. Now I would tell my prospect, look, somebody just launched. If you had launched, she could have possibly been in your team. But since you're still thinking about it, if you decide to join, most likely you'll be in her team. So what do you want? We got a room full of, I don't know, X number of people. You're going to see most of them are going to launch, if not all of them. You want to be the last one to get on board? Or you want to take action now? So that's where I bring a sense of urgency. Then if all the leaders are doing what they're supposed to do while I'm having this conversation with this person, the next person launching, then the next person launching, then the next person launching, I look at this person and you see what's going on? So, obviously you're trying to answer the questions.
Mm-hmm.
And if they say, well, how do I do this? I tell them, don't worry about how to. That's my job to teach you how. You need to think about why you want to do this. How to, we have a big boot camp coming up. Plus, I'll sit with you afterwards tonight and explain to you even a little bit more. But right now, you need to make a decision if you're on board or not. And, that's basically it. Post-tour, I want to make sure all new LCs that join are put through the Launchpad Next 30-day training. One of the things that blows me away is that a lot of members, new members, don't even know what Launchpad Next 30 Days is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, have you ever been through that training? No. Where do I see that? Well, usually the person that brings you the business is supposed to do that. But if they didn't do it, it's also your back office. And that's what's very crucial. If you want your people that show up the first night to a tour in Nigeria, you stay up as late as you need to stay up to take them through the Launchpad Next 30 Days. That shows them the sense of urgency. They'll take advantage of the week that we're there, and they're going to want to capitalize towards, if it's not Diamond, a diplomat, an ambassador, the week that we're there. And Launchpad Next 30 Days will do that for you. So it's very, very important.
Okay. So, and of course, this is all about creating momentum, right? And creating, like you said, a sense of urgency. So, if you are showing them the sense of urgency to how quickly they need to get the Launchpad done, and obviously they want to take advantage of your time there, what do you anticipate that the new member is going to do if you direct them properly, Reza, and you're there for a one-week event?
Well, they're going to be bringing guests like you wouldn't believe. They're going to show up. They're going to show up the next day. They're going to show up the next night. They're going to be knocking on your door. They're going to be calling you. They're going to be excited, and it's going to create a frenzy. That's what it's going to do. It's going to create a frenzy.
Right.
And this is one of those frenzies that it's nice to watch because we've seen people rush into two different laptops to see who's going to get in first because they want the other person in their team.
Exactly.
We have people that the next night at the tour, they're there. They just joined the night before. The next night at the tour, we ask them to stand up for testimonial. They're like, me? I'm like, yes, you. And come in front of the room, please. They come in front of the room. I'm like, when did you join? Well, I did last night. I launched my mall last night. What did you launch at? Well, I launched, for example, as a, diamond, or I launched as a silver, whichever. And okay, and what's happened? Why did you launch? Because of this. I launched. What have you done so far? Well, I brought my best friend, which brought his wife, and his wife's brother, and I brought my cousin, and they all launched today. I'm like, okay, and they all watched last night or today or whatever. I'm like, okay, so have you made any money yet? They look at you, they're like, no, not yet. I'm like, well, that's where you're wrong. You've already made $1,500. They're like, what? I'm like, yes, you've already made $1,500. I said, I'll explain to you later how you made that. So that makes the room go crazy. That this guy showed up last night, and his very first 24 hours made $1,500? Are you serious? And they all come to me and say, how's that possible? Well, it's very simple. Go diamond, okay, and while I'm here, get me X number of people that do X number of work, packages, and, you're going to make that even more. The highest I've seen someone make the first day was $700-800, some 24-year-old, a couple of years ago. So that's what it does, these things. These events creates that kind of frenzy.
Okay. Well, you know what? Thank you so much, Reza. I definitely appreciate your insight. Like I said, you're probably the most decorated person, in our company with respect to, launching new markets and going and doing these big events. And, I'm hoping you're not gonna disappear on us because we may have a few more questions for you moving forward. But we definitely appreciate your speaking. And so, and just relative to what Reza was saying. Yeah, one of the biggest things about making an event successful is definitely sort of the organization that goes into it. And I know for myself, one of the things that I like to do, and Reza says in a perfect world, people are going to take care of everyone's going to take care of their first and second generation. But as he mentioned, we're not in a perfect world. So one of the things that I like to do is I like to coordinate what's happening with my team members. And one of the ways I like to do that is, one, by making sure I get everyone there as early as possible. The second thing I like to do is I like to cordon off an area for my team. So now if I have someone who's brand new, they're in close proximity to me. Because one of the challenges is you've got someone in the north, you've got someone in the south, you've got someone in the east, you've got someone in the west, and now you're trying to run around the room trying to take take care of everyone, and really you're juggling way too many balls. So one of the things I like to do is I like to coordinate it so that anyone who doesn't have a leader per se that is going to be taking care of them, I know that I have them close to me. So if I get to the room early, I'll say, okay, great, we're in the front left. I want everyone to put all of their guests and them to sit in the front left corner of the room, and that's where I know I'm going to be able to answer questions and to do all the post-tour activity. And of course, this all comes with a lot of pre-planning. So, if you know you're going to be there and you know the event starts at 7 or 7:30, at 7 o'clock, I want my members to get there by 7 so that we can cordon off a small area of the room, maybe 1 or 2 rows, and those rows are going to be taken for my members and my guests. Now, you want them there early because at the end of the day, you don't want to necessarily be reserving seats for people who are not showing up because it's unfair to the other people who are in the room. But if you have your people there early, you have your guests there early, and again, it's about a sense of urgency. So if you're creating a sense of urgency where your members are there early, their guests are there early, the front rows are taken, and guess what? You want your people at the front because anything that's happening, if there's anything going on that's not necessarily positive in the room, you want it to be happening behind your guests so that your guests don't see it. All you want your guests to be focused on is what's happening on the stage, what's happening with the presenters, what's happening with the testimonials, and not be distracted by the things that are happening behind you. But if you're sitting in the back, everything that happens in front is a distraction. If you're sitting in the front row, the only thing that's going to distract you is the speaker because you're not really paying attention to what's happening behind you. So now if you focused on getting your team there early, having your team get their prospects there early, you've put that team in the best position to have success. And that starts right away, in terms of the organization. And so we've got one of our key leaders on the call right now, and someone who has had tremendous success in obviously building a team very, very quickly, and that's our national ambassador, Mr. Abdurazak Abdulaziz, and he's on the call. So I definitely want to call on Abdurazak to answer just a few questions, just relative to preparation and relative to maybe approach, and then of course how he structures his time to make sure that he maximizes an event of this magnitude. So Abdurazak, are you there with us?
Yes, Mr. Africa. Good evening.
I know you're on these calls. This is probably your second or third call today, so we definitely want to say thank you for taking your time to be here with us. So we want to basically be able to use this as a session to be able to maybe give people some best practices or some ideas on how they can be successful in these types of events. So typically, what has been your most successful way of approaching a new prospect relative to an introduction with Global Wealth Trade?
Thank you so much, Brian, and hello, every leader. I heard National Ambassador Reza speaking when I came in. Thank you so much for being on the call. Yeah, my first approach is always that of it's always about that prospect. It's not about me. I go out and when I talk to a new prospect, it's not about signing up that prospect. No, I want to get to the core. Of course I'm presenting GWT as an opportunity. However, I want to uncover the reason for why this person needs to do GWT, because I always tell people that everybody that you talk to is already sold on GWT, because I believe in all sincerity everybody needs that extra income. Okay, no matter what they're earning, they need an extra is always good. It's it's always a buffer. It makes you confident, it makes you to be secured. So people are looking for that security. So I'm looking to find out what is an issue the person might have that GWT can provide a solution to. So it's always my approach is always, in respect of assisting that person. It's not about me getting a new distributor, a new LC into my team. No, it's always about that person. And it always works because, people can read you, if you're talking to them on the phone, if you're speaking to them face to face, they can actually read, your voice, your body language, and people, that sixth sense is always there. So that's my approach all the time. Always focus on the prospect.
Okay,
What is
so
it? Yeah,
so what you're saying then, and I hear you because obviously in sales, and yes, we are in sales, and if anyone isn't aware of that, but in sales, we're in essence we're problem solvers. And so
exactly.
now what Abdurazak is saying is you need to identify a particular problem that this person is trying to resolve, and maybe GWT can be that solution. And so until you identify what that problem is, you don't know what you're in essence selling to that prospect. Is that what you're saying, Razak?
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Exactly. That is it. You have to identify a problem and provide GWT as the solution for that problem.
Mm-hmm. So now typically, like just again, and as a role play, and you're coming up to me and you're meeting me for the first time, and I've heard a number of your different ways of obviously introducing the business to people. So I mean, what would you say is probably your go-to as a way of actually breaking the ice and starting or initializing that conversation?
Fantastic. You just you just nailed it. I mean, the icebreaker, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I walk up to you and I say, "Hello, Brian. How are you? It's a great day, isn't it?"
Oh, it's fantastic. It's nice and sunny outside. I love it. No snow on the ground yet.
Fantastic, fantastic. Brian, listen, I just found a way that we could make an extra $2,000 in the month of November. And if you will be interested, I'll be very happy to tell you. Meanwhile, let's go grab a coffee. So once I say that, and definitely, if money is an issue, and it always is an issue, most times, 80%, 90% of the time, somebody's looking for that extra cash, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
just saying that I just found a way, you're saying it emphatically, I just found a way that, we could make an extra $2,000 in the month of November. And if you are interested, I'll be very, very happy to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
And then I tell the person, meanwhile, let's go grab, a bottle of Coke. So
Mm-hmm.
I've made very casual, so it's all about the person, it's not about me, because the person just immediately senses that, look, hey, this guy has some information he wants to, to talk to me about. So he's the one that's going to beg me for a presentation now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know?
And so you're basically creating curiosity, and then that curiosity is what's driving them to want to hear what it is you have to offer.
Absolutely. And it
Mm-hmm.
works 100% out of 100%. It works for me every time. Or, I can say, um, Brian, I can say, will it be okay, if, will it be okay if, you went home with an extra $2,000 this month?
You would be
That,
amazing.
that, yeah, the answer is always yes. You know, will it be okay if I showed you, how you can have extra money to pay. It's January, 2016. You will be looking to pay school fees for it. Will it be okay if I show you how you can get money outside of your regular budget, to pay for your son's school fees?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know,
And typically the response is
yes,
yes.
yes,
And
exactly.
there's something you said that I definitely agree to, and the thing is making it as casual as
Mhm.
possible, because what happens is the resistance isn't necessarily there. So whether you say let's grab a Coke or let's go for a cup of coffee, it's on me. Just to have a discussion and make it seem like it's something that's very nonchalant. because then they're much more relaxed, and that conversation goes a lot more seamlessly.
Exactly, Brian. That's it. That's
Okay.
it.
So now someone actually now takes you up upon your request, and they show up for your discussion, and now you're beyond the discussion, and now you're bringing them and they're coming to the tour. What typically is your strategy, relative? Let's talk more specifically about this upcoming tour, where we have obviously the biggest event that's we've had in Africa so far. What's your strategy in terms of how you want to maximize this particular function? And why are you going to the function?
Fantastic. I've got two strategies.
Mhm.
I'm looking to new prospects and old prospects. So I've talked to some prospects in the past, and they've told me I'm not ready now, or we've scheduled another time for me to speak with them. So this is a perfect opportunity because I'm calling all of them right now, and I'm telling them, look, we've got the biggest. I'm excited. I'm on the phone. I'm telling you, we've got the biggest event in all of GWT that's happening right here. Guess where? Right here in Nigeria, right here in Abuja. And, you know, you cannot afford to miss this because, we're going to be hosting the CEO of our company. The vice president is coming. We have three master ambassadors coming. I mean, you need to be there. So, you're making it a point that they cannot miss the event, right? So if you raise, it's in your tonality, it's in, hey, listen, I'm very
So
busy.
you,
I know you're busy.
so you,
I just have a minute to tell you that you need, and I need to make a reservation for you right away. So you make it
so you
very,
don't
very
you don't you don't you don't say can you be there? Will you be there? Can you
no, no,
come?
no, nope. I'm telling you, you have to be there. All right, it's you can't afford to miss this because if you miss it, it might take another 5 years before you get to see the speakers at this event. Okay, so you need to be there. I need your confirmation right now because I need to reserve a seat for you now.
Hmm.
You make it
Okay.
urgent. Okay,
Yes, yes, yes.
yeah.
And
So
then now go ahead, yeah.
yeah, so that's for my old prospects that I'm following up, and I've gotten many confirmations already that they will be at the event. Now, for the new prospects, okay, these are new people that because I make it a point of duty at least to speak to two new people every single day about my business. So I'm inviting. These are open invitations because the event is so close right now. So I'm using several methods: word of mouth. I'm using social media. Social media for me, it's a great way to spread the word, very quickly, and then you can start to sift. You sift through, from the responses that you get, you will definitely attract. And talking about new prospects, while earlier on the Crossfire, training, while on the webinar itself, I put a post on Facebook and I got, a lead all the way from the US. That's how powerful, social media can be. So, you know, it's not so hard to deploy and make use of all this social media. You don't have to buy leads. You don't need to spend money buying leads and all of that. No, it's a social media is all about connecting and engaging and recruiting people, whether for friendship or for business. So those I'm using all these fronts. In fact, I'm thinking of going out to do some flyers tomorrow and drop them off at some key places, just to attract new prospects to attend the the tours, and and hopefully definitely the grand finale. Now for the grand finale, guess what? This is where you can actually attract you know people that are very busy. I'm talking about, and very, 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 influential. Okay, I'm talking about bank managers. I'm talking about people who own their businesses, people who are really, really busy because it's on a Sunday night and it's going to be the grand finale. Okay, you might want to invest in this, because you'll be telling these people, this is a gala night event. It's going to be, the final event of, a whole week of activity, and it's reserved for special guests. So you want to make these people feel very, very, very important. And you tell them, look, I'm actually going to invest 5,000 naira. If you can do this, you should. You tell them, I'm going to invest 5,000. I'm buying a gala night ticket for you. Okay, so you need to be there, because I will pay for you to attend. In fact, here is a ticket. I've paid for it already, and you hand it to them. They'll be there. They
So
will be there.
I actually want to back up a little bit because I'm not sure a lot of people realize, obviously, the effort and the work that goes into doing, what you've been able to do in such a short period of time. One thing you talked about is you said that you talk to 2 people per day, every day about your
Every
business.
every day. I must do at least 2 people. Normally it's 4 people. So I follow up on 2 old prospects. All right, depending on how long I've spoken to them. I have a schedule. The MO box. So I have a schedule, and I'm always logging in. When was the last time I had a conversation with this person? When would be? You never leave the scene of a meeting until you have booked another meeting. So you're talking to your prospect and you're telling him friendly and everything, hey, look, it's cool. I know you're not ready right now. I just thought I'll tell you about this new update. Meanwhile, I don't want to bother you. Um, can you tell me when can I call you back again? When can I call you again? So the person gives you a date, and he knows that you're going to call, at that time. So every single day, I have already, I look at my calendar, I look at my agenda, who are the 2 old prospects I need to follow up today, and then I look for 2 new people to talk to.
Hmm.
So it's all about, most times I tell people it's really, really easy to do the business if you go out about your life, go out and do your thing, and then while you're out doing your thing, do GWT. It's easy for me that way. All right. So especially
Hmm.
for those people who are not doing this on a full-time basis. So you're doing whatever you're doing, and you're making it a point of duty every single day. It's your daily method of operation to speak to 2 new people every single day. Whether they join GWT or not is not your problem. You are just given a presentation. What do we get paid for? We don't get paid for signing up people. We don't get paid for selling products. We get paid for doing presentations. Because the more presentations that you do, the better you get. And that increases your closing rate.
Mm.
I've had instances. I mean, the last person that just joined, my organization, a fantastic lady all the way in Lagos, Jane. I hope she's on the call tonight. It took less than, you know, 20 minutes on Facebook. I never met her before, never, so because, I do this on a consistent basis every single day. I know the right words to use, you know, I know what to do, I know what to say. So, within 20 minutes chatting on Facebook, she was ready to launch her VDM. So doing 2 a day, the reason you do that is that you become so consistent. You're practicing. They say practice makes perfect. It increases your closing rate.
Hmm.
The law of averages will set in. So that's the method.
Okay, and then on top of that, because again, you're a national ambassador, you've had so much success, you're also going out and handing out flyers.
Oh yeah, yes, because you have to lead from the front. It's very difficult for you to tell people to do something if you don't do it. Okay, it's very, very. In fact, it's not moral for you to tell people to do something and you don't do it. So yes, why not go out and hand out flyers? I do that because that's I'm building my business. Every single opportunity I get, every single innovative way that I get to do it, I must do it. So just print out some flyers, And I got this idea, on Friday when we had some volunteers, that are coming to do, help us out with all the event. And Mrs. Saka was there, and she had printed out, the flyer just as you see it on the screen right now. She has printed it out really nice, and I said, "Wow, that's a good idea. I need to borrow this idea." So tomorrow I'm off to the printers in the morning. I'll print a couple of copies, and take it to some specific, places, some real, places I feel, people would be there to pick it up and just drop it a couple of places. And then, yes, when I'm out, I have some in my bag. I'll just, hey, hello, we're having a great event coming up. I'd like to see you there. Here's a flyer. I look forward to seeing you. This can change your life. I'd love to see you there. That's just it. You never know. You never know who's going to turn up. Okay, so just do that in the faith that they will come. And I tell you, the law of averages, the law of probability will always work. Hand out 10 flyers, hey, one person will show up. It's a good investment. Okay.
Absolutely. So I guess just speaking to something you mentioned, because obviously you talked about Jane and 20 minutes and she's ready to launch her VDM, but we know that that's not typically the norm, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people probably don't realize that I too, I actually launched Africa via the internet and via social media. So, but it wasn't a 20-minute discussion. It was a 2-year discussion. So,
Wow.
so yeah. So, and typically the thing is that most people don't really sometimes realize the amount of time that goes into building a proper relationship, getting someone to a point where they are not only interested, but they believe now that they can have success in the business, and they garner that success a lot of times through you. So now, and I'll share my story a little bit later, but because I want you to spend the time. But for in terms of, I mean, obviously 20 minutes is great, but what about on the follow-up side in terms of, obviously being diligent and keeping in touch with people and then getting them to the point where they're ready to launch? What typically has that looked like on the longer side?
Yes. Following up people depends on the how you do it, and it depends on the person. All right.
Hmm.
The right time can come at any time. So it's and sometimes on the side of the prospect, it's sometimes some of these prospects actually they want to see how long you will keep you'll keep at it, because that for them is another way to gauge the longevity of the business, and also to gauge will this person just fade away. Is somebody I can trust? Will this person be available for me when I'm in the business? So sometimes it takes 2 weeks follow up, sometimes 2 months, sometimes a year, sometimes 2 years. I mean, I was floored, I think it was last year that our senior vice president, Sanas Human, actually, talked about one of our relatives. It took him 8 years to say yes to GWT. 8 years. And this is somebody who is, part of GWT, I mean, through and through. So if she could do it for 8 years, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, I can do it for 18 years. Okay? Because, it's all about, like I said, the prospect. It's all about never make it about yourself. So sometimes it takes that long. I remember we spoke with regional, I beg your pardon, National Ambassador Reza, about a prospect that they have been talking to in South Africa for just about the same time, 2 years. 2 years or more than that, but he kept at it, and on and on and on, and eventually, guess what? He opened up that market. Okay, so it's all about the prospect. And yes, I mean, no doesn't mean no. It just means I'm not ready yet. Okay, so this is,
Hmm.
and then when you give your prospects updates, all right, so they know that the company is progressing. So you give personal updates in terms of maybe your earnings, or maybe you just achieved a new position in the business. you ring them up, you send them a text message, an email. Hey, what's happening in your life? This is what's happening in my life. I just made, climbed another rung in the ladder of success in my business. How about you? How's it going for you? I just made an additional $1,000 in my business. How about you? How's it going for you? So that way they know that you just are not following up just because you want to get in the business, but because you care about what's happening with them, and eventually they will say yes at some point. And then if they don't say yes, hey, keep in touch and just do your thing and just stay friendly with them. I, before this call, before I came in, I was actually coming in from, I went to do a one-on-one tour. So it was somebody in my front line, okay, Essay, that's her name. She's directly sponsored by me, and we did a 2-week 3-way call with one of our prospects, and I was supposed to send an email. I didn't get to do it, and this lady just called me from out of the blues while we're just before, I think it was just before, yeah, before we did the call earlier, and she said, you know what? Hey, I didn't see the email. I said, I'm sorry, madam, I didn't do the email, but you know what? I'm gonna do it soon. I said, no, 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 not to worry. My husband and I, we need to see you today. We want to hear about the opportunity together. And I said, really? She said, yes. I said, I did not plan to go out today, but can we do it tomorrow? She says, no. You know, it has to be today because we're going to work tomorrow, and it's just today. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna see you today because when somebody calls you, you know, and asks for a tour, you better be there because I mean, especially when she says she's gonna be there with her husband or significant other, that means they have talked about it, they're considering it, so it's just left for you to go out there and do the close, and that's just what I did. I went in there. So that's a prospect calling you, okay, because maybe SA had made some follow-up calls, and she's in the loop and she's talked about it, and then that's a prospect calling you, for another presentation. So definitely she knows that there's value in the opportunity, and they're the ones calling you now. So you need to step up, go there, and do the presentation and close the deal. So hopefully this couple will be launching their VDM. I told them about the 10 for cash, so that's an update. You're giving them an update about what's coming. I told them that, you know what, we have a big event coming up. You need to be there. You need to be there to see the car award. The car will be presented on that night. You need to be there. You know what? Because that could be you, in the future. And
yeah, you know what, Razak, what you're touching on is so powerful, and I hope everyone is really taking it to heart, and you're making some notes here because a lot of time your success is right at your fingertips. It's right at your fingertips, and guess what? We blow it off. We don't think it's important. We don't do the things that we need to do to actually take advantage of that success. And what they say luck is just what? Opportunity and preparedness. So luck is when opportunity and preparedness meet. Means you have the opportunity and you're prepared to react to it. You're prepared to do whatever you need to actually take advantage of that opportunity. And so you create your own luck. And so what Razak is saying is, when someone reaches out to you and they actually want to see the business and they want to hear about the business, and everyone is interested in expanding the business, but I always say to people, be careful what you wish for, because when you get what you wish for, you have to be prepared to do what? You have to be prepared to step up. You have to be prepared to be available. You have to be prepared to maybe go out of your way to actually be able to grab that success and take advantage of it. Do you know what I mean, Razak?
absolutely, absolutely, because it was so easy for me to say, you know what, since you're not available tomorrow, let's sometime the week or maybe the following weekend. But that's time going, and you know what? the most precious commodity in the world is time. Once it's gone, it's gone. And, they're feeling it right now. You don't know what's going to change in their lives tomorrow, the next minute. So you better step up,
Hmm.
take opportunity, and go for that meeting. And I'm so happy that I went for that meeting today because, I mean, the husband, he was he was just inches away from launching on the spot. I mean,
Hmm.
he was so revved up. He was so revved up, and I know for sure they'll be launching. And I'm so happy for Essie because, her business is about to turn around because, she's been busy with so many things and she's been wanting to get her GWT business off the ground. So Essie, if you're on the call, hey, that's good news for you. Your business is about, to take off.
Hmm. Well, you know what, Razak, I definitely want to say thank you. As I said, it's obvious why you're having the success you're having, because it's all about determination. It's about hard work. It's about ambition. It's all about persistence. It's about attitude, and literally, you have it all. So, you know what? And the funny thing is, a lot of people look at leaders like Reza, leaders like yourself, leaders like Sean Haynes, and leaders like Renee Liao, and they say, oh, these guys are lucky. It's not luck, it's hard work, it's persistence, it's attitude, it's determination. And those are the key attributes that you need to find within yourself to actually have the success that you are longing for. And if it's not there yet, the next thing you need to do is something we talked about this afternoon, and we're not going to touch on it today as much: personal development. You need to actually focus on you. What is it that you need to improve about you that's going to give you the success that you say you desire? What is it that you're missing that actually is the one thing that you need to work on, whether it's your confidence, whether it's your attitude, whether it's your persistence or your work ethic? There's something there that's actually standing in your way of success. So, you know what, I want to say thank you so much for sharing with us. I actually have another one of our leaders on the line, Joy Osagala, and I'm hoping that she's available to speak with us, because Joy is actually one of the key
Thank you so much,
leaders.
Brian.
No, thank you, Abdurazak. But I want you to stick around because we may be coming back to you. So please
Okay, okay,
don't.
I'm here.
So,
Okay.
Joy Osagala is actually one of our leaders from in the African market, and she's actually heading up an amazing team. I'm hoping that she's available to speak with us. I know sometimes there may be some challenges with mics and what have you, so we've unmuted you, Joy. I'm hoping that you can unmute yourself on your side, and we would love for you to share a little bit with the GWC community here. I see you're unmuted,
Hello,
Joy. If you
Brian.
can. Hi, Joy. How are you doing?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you quite clearly. How are you
Hi,
doing today?
excellent. I'm fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, great. So we're just sharing with the
Thank you so
GWC.
much.
You're very welcome. We're just sharing a little bit with the GWC community about, ideas and strategies on how people, one, they approach their prospects, and everyone has a different way of approaching prospects, and of course preparing for big events like the one we're getting ready to have, in a week. So just to share with people a little bit about you've been in the business for how long now, Joy?
1 year.
1 year. And so now, and I know that you've had, hit some very amazing milestones. So what's your most recent milestone?
Okay. Thank you very much, Brian. Thank you, everyone on the call.
Hmm.
I backed the regional ambassador
So
two
you're
months ago,
you're a
and I
regional
did that
ambassador
in just about 11 months.
in 11 months, which is
Um,
fantastic. So now, typically, what is
yes, I
your
am.
what's your approach when you actually are looking at, someone from a perspective, relationship or expansion of your business? And we talked a little bit about Razak and his go-to way of typically introducing the business. What would you say is the way that you typically would introduce or open up the discussion or break the ice with someone about the opportunity? Joy, are you with us?
Okay, I want to first of all thank the two NAs that hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, Joy, you're breaking up a little bit. You're breaking. Your connection's a little bit
Can you
delayed.
hear
And
me now?
yes, I hear you now.
Okay, I was thanking NA Rexa and NA Abdul. They spoke earlier on, and I learned so much from them. All right. Basically, there are various ways I do my own, prospecting and all that, depending on the circumstances and the kind of person that I'm meeting. But my major tool is the social media. It has worked mightily for me. I make use of it has worked 98% of the time. Okay, now, for example, today at the airport, I met a lady that looked well dressed. She had jewelries, all over her, and I sat next to her, and of course, we said hi, hi, and all that. And the next thing I did, I introduced the business to her. Okay, and I spoke to her about global wealth trade. I showed her my products are a wonderful tool for me. I use them all the time, and that one has worked 100%
Yeah, Joy,
all the time.
your
I
line
was
is
with my
line
fairy
is your
shield.
line
I had
your
my
line's breaking up.
pouch triangle. I had my fairy silver ring on.
Yeah, Joy, your line is a little bit distorted, unfortunately, so we're kind of not getting the full scope of what you're saying.
Now.
But it's in and out. So when you actually met this lady, just quickly, what was you what how did you? I mean, obviously you said she had some beautiful pieces on. What was the first thing you said to her?
We greeted, hello, hi, and after that I was like, you look good. She said, thank you. And I said, have you heard about global wealth trade? Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you quite clearly. So you said something that was just pretty normal. You said hello, right?
Yeah, sure. And
That
then
was
we had all
that.
those,
Go ahead. Yeah.
yes, I was with my baby, I was with my baby and she paid, compliments to my baby, and I immediately saw that as an opportunity. I just went straight. I was like, have you heard about global wealth trade? And she was like, global wealth trade. I said, yes, GWT. And she was like, not really. And I was like, okay, can you see my earrings, 950 silver, my pendant, my necklace, my shield? At this time, she was all over, she was staring at me, looking at me from head to toe, and I was really looking good. And she was like, tell me more. And I started talking. We are in a huge franchising campaign and all that. We had just about 5 minutes, but by the time our luggages arrived, she was like, can I have your number? She asked for my number,
Okay.
you know,
Okay. Yeah.
and I gave her my number. She followed me to the car park, and she was like, I would call you. I really want to know. I really want to know what it's all about. So like I said, my style of product.
Yeah, Joy. Unfortunately, you're breaking up, but I just think it's actually quite interesting that you used a very direct approach, and I like that because at the end of the day, whether she's heard of GWT or not, it actually creates a conversation. And it's funny that you mentioned that all you did was say hi. And if we actually can just start doing that a little bit more, just acknowledging the people who are close to us, whether in close proximity, you'd be shocked at what can come out of just a simple hello. And I love the way that you said that. You just said, have you heard about, you just went straight for it. Have you heard about GWT?
Yeah.
And then, in essence, whatever her response is, it doesn't really matter. If she says no, the next thing is she's going to want to know what is GWT, which is amazing. So I love that approach. Yeah, Joy, your line is very poor, but we definitely want to thank you for sharing. I think that's a great starter point. We actually have
Yeah.
one of our and
Yes.
unfortunately your line is a little bit rough, so it's hard to follow you. But we definitely want to say thank you so much for sharing. So we actually have another one of our key leaders, and this lady is actually taking so much leadership in the planning and organization of, the meetings and the tours and the functions in Africa. And this is none other than Kafina Ajibola. Kafina is actually another one of our regional ambassadors, and who've actually grown their business at record pace. And I had the pleasure of meeting Kafina on my last trip to Abuja, and they did such a phenomenal job putting that event together that I'm so looking forward to seeing what this event is going to be like, because I know it's going to be over the top, from what we had last time, and last time was great. So I can't wait to see what's going to happen this time. So, Kafina, are you here with us?
Hello, Brian. Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I hear you quite clear. Thank you so much, Kafina. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
I'm doing very well, thank you for asking. So, Kafina, we're just trying to share with a little bit of the global community a little bit about, what some people are doing in terms of best practices. I mean, relative to planning for events, because I don't know if people realize that how critical events are. And I guess just first off, when you see an event coming about, whether it's a tour, whether it's a branding party, like what typically is your mindset relative to whatever event is happening?
Um, Thank you first of all for the opportunity to be on call and to share my, knowledge about what I feel towards events like this. For me, I believe a lot of people will be highly expectant, towards this a mega event coming up in Nigeria. A lot of us here are highly expectant. For me, I don't even know what to expect and what not to expect anymore. My hopes are so high. I'm so excited. I'm just waiting. I'm losing sleep half an hour. As I'm already dreaming, like seeing myself in the hall. So I know a lot of people too are, having those kind of feelings as well. They're expectant. Where also events like this really raise the whole hype. A lot of people wake up, and are willing to do more, to improve. Like now, we have a lot of people who are okay. Let me get up. Let me invite more people. Let me see what can happen after this event. I believe that things will change. I believe my business will kick off and things like that. So there are a lot of, expectations, high hopes, high spirited people. Now everyone is really working hard towards the event. So the events are usually very, very good. Very good. I believe, everyone should try and be on this event. Invite as many people as you can. If you have to pay for their tickets, believe me, get them in, let them come, because it's going to turn everything all around. This is going to be the new face of GWT in Nigeria.
Hmm. So now you've obviously had a lot of success, and we were talking a little bit about how people go about inviting people. What typically is your approach to introduction of the business to someone brand new? How do you go about sort of maybe initiating a conversation with someone to get them intrigued enough to want to look at the business? I don't know if we've lost Kafina. Are you there, Kafina?
Every time, everywhere, locally, internationally.
Yeah, it seems like we have a not so good a connection, but I think that you can hear the energy, you can hear the excitement, you can hear a lot of the amazing things in terms of why these people are why the African market is having so much success. I actually would like Reza to speak to something because I think one of the things is when we're actually in these events, we always have a lot of people who want to take advantage of it. They're inviting guests, they're inviting prospects. And Reza having had success in so many different functions, I'd like to get his input on how people should actually take it. One, follow up with their guests because I know a lot of people are going to be inviting a lot of people to these functions and they're not necessarily going to be able to attend. So I know how challenging it is for someone like Reza when we've got a lot of people who are letting putting their guests in touch and putting their guests in touch. Reza, just in terms of your experience, what typically do you do, or how do you advise the members in terms of follow up after the event, especially if it's an event that they're not necessarily attending?
Well, what I would do is you're talking before the event starts, right?
I'm talking. Let's say someone in Canada
Yeah,
has a prospect on Facebook, and
yeah,
they're inviting them to come out to the event in Abuja, in Lagos, in Warri,
right.
and so they're not going to be there. What typically would you suggest to them in terms of a follow-up process or how they want to prep their guest so that after the event they can do whatever they need to do and to get them launched if, let's say, they don't launch that particular night?
I usually have there's a lot of different ways, but what I do is I usually edify a number of people,
Hmm.
and I tell them when you go there, I have my colleague, Abdul Razak, for example, is in the crowd. He's a top earner. He's a national ambassador. He has done such and such a number of months, and he is going to be looking after you for me. So what
Hmm.
I'll do is I'll introduce them on a three-way. I'll, make sure they know each other, they're being edified properly, and and make sure my guest understands that this person is doing them a favor. They're doing it because of me, and make sure that you do show up because it's going to be a sold-out event. And please, if you're not able to show up, let me know ahead of time. I do not want to waste a seat because it's going to be a sold-out event. I'm going to bring value to the event. I'm going to bring value to each seat. I'm going to say if you cannot go for whatever reason, let me know so we do not waste that spot.
Hmm.
And that's one way. Another way is I create small little groups. For example, we have a Zambia tour last week, and there was a 3-day event, and there was a lot of prospects that went to this event. I made sure every one of them were, if they launched, great. If they haven't launched, they become a VIP because many of them, we see sometimes that they're going to get their money together and so on. We make them in the VIP and make sure that they're belonging to this group, that they can constantly update it. We got a new member, please help us welcome our new members, so on and so forth. And keep in touch with them. I mean, smile and dial. You got to pick up the phone and call these people. Don't rely on just sending out 1,000 emails and expect 1,000 people to show up.
Hmm.
You want to make sure you're hands down, pick up that phone and call these individuals. That's the most effective way, in my opinion.
Hmm.
Other than that, we have people always showing up. Like right now, we have um, a number of people in South Africa that are their upline is not in South Africa. Their upline is in Nigeria. Jose is one of them. I don't know whose their upline is. I believe it is. I'm not sure. Either Comfort. No, no. Lulu is Comfort. Jose is some of the leaders downline. And you know what? These people are part of our group as well. I mean, they're in those chat groups. They are in that training sessions we do. So you got to be involved. You got to keep them involved. And you know what? I have people that got involved, part of this group about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and they're launching today. They launched
Hmm.
yesterday. So it's
Hmm.
very, very important that we do not forget about them, infinite follow-up, and make sure they know, they're aware. after they see the tour, we all know if they didn't launch the mall yet, that feeling, that excitement will start to dissipate. The following day, a week later, life catches up. Things start to be forgotten if we do not have a plug in the system, if we do not have a reminder, something that triggers that reminder, and more importantly, seeing that, hey, for example, Zambia is growing. I was the first one to see it. This lady just saw it 3 days ago, and she already launched. So, that sense of urgency kicks in, and they want to, they have to put a rush to it. You know what I mean? So, yes, there's a lot of different ways of doing it. Each market is different. Some places, they're not big on social media for some reason, which is fine. I just pick up the phone and call them. And at the end of the day, we got to do the work.
Of course. So now, I guess the other thing I have is typically at these events it's very, very busy. So a lot of times it can be easy sometimes for a guest maybe not to maybe not connect with you, or maybe not to be able to get the time necessarily that they may have hoped. So what typically would you suggest the LC do in terms of timing for follow-up, and what should their follow-up process be?
You're talking about some LC that just joined, or?
No, let's say, for example, an LC is sending someone to the event in Africa,
right.
And they're not there, so they obviously have referred them to you. But knowing how busy you are, and how many people are sort of always wanting your time, maybe there wasn't enough time necessarily for that particular guest. What would you suggest the LC do in Canada in terms of follow-up with their guests? How quickly should they follow up, and what should that process be?
Same night. The same night.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, the same night. I mean, we had a tour in some city in South Africa, and what I did was, because it consists of really 3 different groups. One is the South Africa, which is the one I started about 3-4 months ago. One is South Africa, which is division of Montreal, Canada, which is Annie Duperville's downline. And there is another South Africa, which is Nigeria. There's at least 2 or 3 of them I know from Nigeria and South Africa. What I did was I make sure that these people immediately follow up with the prospect immediately. That way it shows 2 things to the prospect: that you are serious, and secondly, if they have a question and ready to launch, I don't know, maybe someone didn't look after them. Maybe they're ready to launch. So you want to make sure you get back to them right away, and you want to make sure that you answer the question, overcome the rejection, and get them on board. So it's very crucial that you get to them right away.
Okay, perfect. Well, again, thank you so much, Reza. I appreciate your insight. Like I said, you're probably the most decorated person relative to these types of functions and these types of launches. I know that I've been part of a few, but nothing even in comparison to the amount of times you've been to St. Martin and really all over the world to launch the business. So I know that your experience is definitely priceless. So thank you so much.
My pleasure, man.
All right, perfect. So just again, and we talk a little bit about social media and how amazing it is, and we're going to wrap the call up because it's been a long call, but I'm hoping that people have gotten a few tidbits of information that they can take away from them. But I said I was going to share a little bit about my experience, and yes, we do have some questions, so we will be addressing those. Thank you for that. But social media is a very powerful tool, but I think one of the things that we need to be aware of is that we have an accountability to the people that we actually introduce to the business, and I think that's one of the things that I want to make sure that people are very much aware of. So I mean, it isn't about launching people and hoping that they're going to succeed and not providing the support that you need, and a lot of times that support, and like I said earlier, you have to be prepared for your success. And sometimes that does come with a cost. And so when I introduced the business, actually it was funny, I was in Hong Kong at the time, and all I did was and this is just to give you an idea of how powerful our business is, all I did was I placed a piece of jewelry on Facebook. And I came home from an event after Hong Kong, and we placed a piece of jewelry on Facebook. The next day, I had a message from a lady in California on the other side of the world. She said, "Brian, I love your jewelry. Where did you get it?" I said, I have the distribution rights for a Canadian designer brand. I have the rights to distribute this brand anywhere in the world. This lady says, can I help you take, oh, she said to me right off the bat, she said, can I help you take it to Brazil? I thought about it for a second. I said, yes, of course, right? Why can't you help me take it to Brazil, right? She expanded the business to Brazil, to Portugal, to Spain, to Israel, and she introduced me to a gentleman in Accra, which is in Ghana. And that relationship started that day, but it took 2 years for that person to actually join the business. So within that 2 year time frame, if at any point I had decided that I wasn't going to pursue GWT anymore, if I had, went on a sabbatical, if I had, took a vacation from the business, Nigeria may not be here today. And, that gentleman said to me, Brian, I'm going to help you take the business all across Africa. So you Accra, Sanyani, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, Kumasi, eventually into Nigeria. And that's how Nigeria started. But it took 2 years of follow-up for that actually to happen. And so I really want to impress upon everyone, one, the persistence, two, the diligence, three, the hard work, and all those things, and four, the commitment. And that commitment may not necessarily always be time. It may end up being money, because for me, one of the things that I always pride myself on is if someone needs help, I can't wait to go and help them. So, in essence, during that time frame, it was costing me probably about $20 a day in long distance to basically be there to support my team member, because I couldn't wait to go and get calling cards, and I couldn't wait to get them on Skype, and I couldn't wait to get them on WhatsApp. If they needed help, I needed to call them. And so I really want everyone to be aware of some of the things that you need to be prepared to do when you're looking at expanding, because you can't necessarily count on someone else to do that for you. You've got to be prepared to do it for yourself. And this event is going to be a phenomenal event. I know it's going to really create some amazing things for a lot of people, here on this call. I know a lot of you have guests coming to the function, so the information from Reza is really going to be critical for you in terms of the follow-up process. I know that we have some questions, and we definitely want to address those questions. And we have a few more, ambassadors on the line that came on a little bit late, and I'd love to hear from them. But we definitely want to make sure we answer the questions to make sure that we address those first. And then if we need to, then we can go back. But we also want to wrap up the call. And actually, I see the lady on the call who actually was the lady who helped me initially to launch Africa, and that's Rosangela McVeigh. So I definitely want to say, thank you to Rosangela, because everyone calls me Mr. Africa. If you call me Mr. Africa, she's Mrs. Africa, because she was the person who introduced me to the first member in Ghana who was really the great grandfather of Nigeria. Now the sad part of it is, and there is a sad part to this story, he's not here anymore. So again, and I say that kind of in jest, but think about this. You do all the effort to create all these relationships, to expand the business, to now the business is having so much success, and you're not here to really to take advantage of it. And it almost brings a tear to my eye, because I know how hard we worked to actually get this market going, and I know he was a huge part of that, and it hurts me a little bit to know that he's not here to really benefit from it. But I'm still hopeful that at some point he will return, because without him, this Nigeria market wouldn't be here. And without him, I wouldn't have the business I have today. So I definitely am thankful, for what happened and how it came about. But it is a little bit of a sad story in that he's not here to really take advantage of it. So in terms of questions, we want to open it up for questions, and we definitely want to make sure that we get everyone the answers that they need and leave them with the value that they need to really feel that this webinar was beneficial. So if there are questions, we can actually start addressing them now. Thank you, Christine.
Thank you very much, Brian, and thank you for all of our leaders who are sharing their stories with us and experiences. We do have some questions here from Eliana Shukri. I think she was referring before about from Reza Misgarlu of if he can come to New Zealand.
Reza, can you come to New Zealand?
I would
I know
love
what
to.
the answer. I know
I
what the
would
answer.
love
Go
to.
ahead, Reza.
Absolutely.
So, and I think Reza talked to that already. I mean, typically, if we can build a team, and I think Reza, you said the number was around 50 or 60.
When I open a new market, when I have a
Yes.
brand new market, I'm talking to one individual
Yeah.
or a group of individuals. I tell them, depending on where it is,
Hmm.
usually, get yourself 40, 50 members with my assistance, with my training, with my support. Let's get you to 40, 50 people, and I'll come down the first hand to, help you explode it.
Hmm. So the answer is yes. There is some work to be done, but hey, maybe you've already got 50, so maybe Reza's on his way to New Zealand.
No, well, you gotta go.
And
You gotta basically uh, New Zealand. I would love to go to New Zealand and see it, but New Zealand, I think, is a division of Australia, right?
it's close to Australia.
Okay, there's a number of people that need to come there before I come there.
Okay, so there you go. So um, so that's the answer. So what is any other questions?
Yes. But first, I would like to say to Reza, you are very welcome to come to Germany. I'm really excited.
Now,
Well,
now, now, Germany is one place that I used to live in. My dad used to own actually a car dealership in Germany, and I actually have family in Germany. So, plus we have new members in Germany that are, um, talking a big storm. So, looks like I'll be in Germany soon. Yeah,
Yeah, you are very welcome to come here. We are very excited
pleasure.
to have you here.
It's my pleasure.
just
Um,
just relative to what Reza was saying, and obviously there is sort of leaders who are in between him and the members. So typically, the local leaders need to take leadership first, and obviously, and set a system in place, and then obviously Reza will come in, at some point, once those things have been done. It's like, every time we've gone to Nigeria, first it was me, the second time was myself, and it was Renee. The third time now it's Reza, it's Sean, it's the CEO. So,
Don't forget Lior.
the
Lior went there too.
oh, and Leora went there too. So there's a lot of things that needs to happen, and there's a lot of leaders in between who need to take responsibility for that team. But ultimately, down the road, Reza will definitely be one of the people who will be there. Once the time is right, and once the initial legwork has been done. So, but he does have a commitment to making sure that New Zealand and Germany succeed. So that's something that I know he's definitely eager to do. And the sooner we can do it, the better it is for everybody. Right, Reza?
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, perfect. Any other questions?
yes, I do have a question from Gloria Ade Akhani.
Mhm.
And she said, how many guests can a member invite or come with? I think it's with the tour. She's
There's no limit to how many guests you can actually invite, but I with is your follow-up process and making sure you can support those guests. So it's a fine line, in terms of that, because if you have too many, then the prospects are also wondering, how well you can actually support them. So you really have to gauge that, and you also can gauge it based on your My5 and your support team. So if you're highly well connected to your My5 and it's something that you guys can coordinate together, we haven't necessarily, there's no limit, but you have a limit in terms of how well you can function with how many new prospects. And let's say all of those prospects got started, we don't want to have people get started and not be able to be supported. So there is a balancing point. Red, what would you say to that?
Well, you definitely need to be organized. You want to
Hmm.
make sure. I've seen people um, that showed up to a meeting. Um, one young lady in particular, with most recent memory, and she had 12 guests,
Mm-hmm.
and there was only the presenter that was qualified to attend to the guest.
Mm-hmm.
This is a brand new market, right? And last I know, plus the procedure wasn't followed properly. The 12 guests got up and left
Yeah.
with her, along with her, and as far as I know, nothing came out of it. But the
Mm-hmm.
same, on the same token, a little bit of training and so on. She went to another meeting just a couple of days ago, and she had, I believe, I don't know how many guests, but I know 6 launched and 4 are pending.
Okay,
So
perfect. So,
yeah, you definitely have to be organized. You got to make sure there's enough qualified people on the ground to assist. I remember my very first trip to St. Martin, island of 60,000 people. I was not sure what to expect. And, I thought, okay, we're going to do some stuff and so on. And we went to a hotel where they invited people, where the tour was supposed to take place. And they had, I believe, 230 chairs. And for those of you familiar with Caribbean, I'm sure Brian is,
mm-hmm.
if you want them to show up at 7, you tell them the meeting is at 6 because they'll be late. They'll be pouring in late. And by 7 o'clock, I noticed there was only like 1/3 of the room full. And I'm like, uh-oh, let's take some more chairs away, and so the room doesn't look so empty. But make a long story short, people kept coming in, kept coming in, kept coming in. Now, not only we don't have enough chairs because we put all the chairs out, we have not enough standing room because it's all packed. There's people still coming. This is like 2 hours after the tour is done, the people are still coming. So halfway through the tour, I look around the room. There was only 6 of us qualified. This was a brand new market. 6 of us qualified to attend to the guest. And I started to panic. So I started talking to the leadership. I pulled them aside before the tour was ended. I said to him, listen, guys, we're going to have a problem. And they said, what's that? I says, we got about 300 guests, and there is only about 6 of us qualified to attend to this guest. So this one-on-one thing is not going to work. So I'm going to take this portion of the room, you take that portion of the room, you take that portion of the room, you take that portion of the room, and let's welcome someone on board immediately to keep people interested, and so they don't leave, and we don't want guests to be sitting there waiting. So we did just that, and it was unbelievable. All I heard for about an hour and a half was, attention everyone, please help me welcome our newest member. He was unbelievable. But I started to panic because I look at 300 guests, and there is 6 of us qualified to attend to this guest. And we turned out to be good, but if I hadn't done a quick thinking of how we're going to assist and how we're going to go about it, it could have turned out to be a disaster. Mm-hmm. So yes, if the person is new, how many guests they want to bring, you know what, I tell them, go ahead and bring as many guests as you want, but make sure you have spoken to your upline, make sure you have spoken to your business partners, and they're ready and willing to assist with the closing.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Reza. Much appreciated. Abdurazak, I know that you're more familiar with the African marketplace and what happens there, and I know how well they are at inviting guests. So, what are you instructing your team in terms of how many people they can actually invite and the preparation that's going into it? Because obviously, if someone invites 100 people and 100 people show up, what's the process in terms of taking care of those guests after the tour? Razak, are you there? You're muted, so if you're talking, we can't hear you. Okay, I'm not sure if Razak is maybe having some issues with his mic, but any other questions?
I have a question from Rose. Rose Angela, I think. Rose
Okay,
Angela
yes.
McVeigh. I think she's the one you referred as Mrs. Africa. I want to unmute
Yes.
her.
Yes.
So, Rose Angela, you are unmuted to ask your question.
Oh, thank you. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Rose.
Hi, Brian. It's a quick question. I'm just thinking about if any LEC can make a list with the confirmed guests and give to the upline or something just to make to us to make sure how many people can be there, and then we
Mm-hmm.
don't have the problem with the chairs and the how many chairs or something
Well,
like.
and I think that would be great, but I think that would be great, but I think one of the great things about what we do is, those are good challenges to have, but yeah, I think that you're right. I mean, there's a lot of different things that we can do to try and mitigate that, but we also know that we invite people in and people will confirm and not show up. So, but we definitely appreciate that suggestion. Thanks, Rose.
You're welcome, Brian.
Take care. So that's just in terms of Rez's idea. I mean, obviously you want to invite as many as you can, but you want to make sure you do you do your preparation. Making sure that you've got your upline support there. They know how many people are in the room, and that you've actually aligned people up so that they can do the follow-up that's necessary to make sure that the 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 prospects get the attention that they need to launch their VDM, hopefully that night. If not, they get all the information they need to go back in and weigh everything and then launch soon thereafter. Any other questions?
So we don't have any questions anymore. It's just like comments.
Mhm.
Nora Bastian wrote, "I was there and it was crazy indeed, and it continued the next entire weekend." I think she was referring to what Reza talked about before.
Mhm.
And the
Mhm.
others are just like comments for what a great webinar, great training. I think that we covered all of the questions for right now.
Okay, okay, fantastic. So, one of the key things, and again, this is actually an opportunity for everyone because, like I said, our business is very visual. It's very easy to, engage someone in a conversation about our product line, just by even just showing them a piece of jewelry, and I sort of shared, my experience with that. So it's very easy for you to do that. I think the next step is, making sure that you do your due diligence to set up your potential new LC for success. And those are some of the key things because as Ramin says, once you've sponsored someone, you lose the right to quit because you've committed to them that you're going to be there to support them. You've committed to them. You're going to be there to guide them. It doesn't mean that you're sort of pushing that off on someone else. The responsibility is your responsibility, and that's really just a point I really want everyone to be aware of because we all want international markets, but as Reza said, there's a process in place. He's not necessarily going to go to that market right out of the gate, which means you kind of have to be prepared to go to that market. So, I mean, the downside to that is if it's something you're not necessarily prepared to do, you want to make sure that you have people in your upline who are prepared to do that. If that's not the case, then maybe again you need to focus on building more locally, and then through building those local connections, you find the leader who can help you with expanding those other markets, as opposed to you just going out to that market and trying to identify someone and then not being in a position to be able to support them because our motto is no member left behind, and we need to make sure that we definitely live up to that, and we definitely take that very seriously. So, are there any other questions before we wrap up the call?
No, that was all of the questions, Brian. Thank you.
Well, it's my pleasure. Well, again, I want to thank everyone for being on the call. I did want to get to. I saw Dr. Anthony was here, and I would love to have got him to speak, but we have gone a little bit over the allotted time. But again, I want to say thank you so much to Abdurazak Abdulaziz, National Ambassador, for his input. We want to say thank you very much to Regional Ambassador Joy Asagala, and of course, Dr. Anthony, thank you for being on the call, and of course, Reza Misgarlu for all of your insight and input. We're so excited, and I know Reza is equally as excited, for our trip to Africa. And I know what it's having been there for the third time. I know what we have in store, and I'm so excited because I know that from this event, we're going to generate many, many people who are going to be just a hop, skip, and a jump away from, hitting that $10,000 per month milestone and beyond. And it's such an exciting time to be part of that. So we're looking forward to it. And like I said earlier, we're just on the eve of the event, so now's the time to put the pedal to the metal in terms of smiling and dialing and making sure that you maximize that event. Make sure it's a money-making event for everyone on this call. And once you do that, believe me, your journey in GWT is going to be one step closer to whatever your target is in the company, as long as you take those key steps. So thanks everyone for being on the call. It's my pleasure, and and we're so happy you were here, and we're looking forward to this being the the thing that's going to spearhead and launch everyone else's business and really turn it into something amazing. So thanks everyone. Have a great night.
Good night,
And
Brian.
I'll turn it back over to Christine. I don't know if Christine has anything in addition to add.
No, that's all. You have wrapped it all up. Thank you, Brian. Thank
You're
you,
very welcome.
Reza. Thank you, Abdurazak. Good night, everyone.